Alright, I'm going to show you how 99% of people buy businesses and it's fucking retarded. So this video I'm going to show you how not to buy business, and of course, because I'm so generous and nice, I'm going to show you how the 1%, how the best in the game buy businesses. And as always, I like to keep it simple, short, simple, sweet. Let's dive into it. Before we do that, if you don't know who I am, my name is Josh Lee. I'm the youngest in Australian history to close a no money down healthcare deal. Here's me and one of my directors. He's an eight-figure founder of Australian Institute of Fitness. If you're in Australia, you should know who they are. And here's me and my billionaire mentor. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. All right, first step. Here's where most people get it wrong. First thing they do is save up. They think they need to save up some money before they go buy businesses. One, you don't need your own money to buy businesses using my model, and I'll explain why later. So this is the first thing that people get wrong. You waste time saving money. Second thing, now once you've saved up, you go to a broker, right? A fucking brokey. Some guy that's trying to sell middleman shit and make money off fucking commissions and fees, like a little whore. Don't use brokers for one. Firstly, their main incentive is to get their commission, right? So their main incentive is not to help you get a good deal. Their main incentive is to make some fucking money, is to push the highest possible purchase price so they can get the maximum commission. That's the first thing. And secondly, they know nothing about businesses, nothing about business. They think they do because they see so many, but they've never run a business. They don't understand what the fuck is going on. They look at numbers, they inflate the numbers for first reason, and it's retarded. So don't use brokers. Always source deals off market. I always source my deals off market. And then let's say you use a broker, you follow their process. That's a big mistake. You follow their process, their frameworks, their guides, their paperwork. Big mistake. Because then you have no leverage. And part of this process is paying a deposit or exclusivity fee, right? Some brokers will literally charge you or even the sellers will request an exclusivity fee to lock you in as the prospective buyer to look at the business. So to say, I'm not going to be a slut and go talk to 5 different potential buyers and get bids. I want you to pay me money to just talk to me. That's bullshit. No deposit, no exclusivity fee. But this is how most people play the game. Now, using a family accountant or lawyer, right? The accountant that you've been using for fucking 20 years for your taxes or whatever. Or your lawyer that you use for your marriage. Big mistake. They know nothing about the commercial law, M&A transaction law, or even how M&A transactions go, right? They're just making shit up as they go. They're going back to the book they read 10 years ago. They're Google fucking, just like you would, how to do things, right? And they're looking at it through their lens, which is not a corporate or transactional lens. So avoid your brother, your uncle, your auntie, your stepdad, whoever is an accountant or lawyer or someone that you've been using for your family. Avoid them. Believing the seller and broker. So the broker, for one, is going to give you an IM, an info memorandum. They're going to tell you all this shit about the business, right? They're going to give you the numbers, the context, the history, the transactions, all the shit. And it's going to come in a neat little package, or hopefully it comes in a neat little package. That's, at least they get one thing right. Don't believe that, right? That is just vomit. Vomit on a page. Here's some info to sell you the business, right? Here's how sexy the business is. There's nothing wrong with it. Buy it. And the seller, and this information is based on what the seller gives them, right? So this is not audited numbers from a professional external firm. This is information that the seller has provided to the broker, and the broker has wrapped up fucking bullshit. So never believe the seller and the broker. They're 2v1 against you. You want to give yourself as many advantages. You want to do your homework. You want to do your due diligence. Use your people, your time to fucking dig in the business, right? You want to investigate the business for booby traps. Begging the bank for money. Now, let's say you've investigated the business, and now most people will walk into a bank and say, "Hey, I've got this great business, found it through a broker. Maybe took it to my uncle accountant, and please give me some money. I need $1 million for this business." That is the worst way to get money from the banks because they're gonna fuck you, right? They're gonna see that you're inexperienced, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, and they're gonna rinse you. Which leads me to the next point, giving them everything they want. So when you go to a bank, they're going to want your guarantee, they're going to want your security, they're going to want equity in the deal, right? And this is how most people do it, right? They give up their property, or maybe they have their mom, their dad, their uncle, someone in their family to give up property as security. And they're going to want your guarantee, right? Your personal guarantee, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with giving a guarantee, especially if it's your first deal. Actually, only if it's your first deal. But giving a guarantee, there's ways to avoid that. But if you're inexperienced, you're just going to sign the papers and say, yeah, here's my guarantee. Right? And they're going to want equity. Right? Equity doesn't need to come from your own pocket, but that's what you're going to assume. That's what you've saved up for, right? You've saved up to pay them the deposit, and you've saved up to put money into the deal. Because everyone else tells you that you need to put equity into the deal. Fuck that. Now, using seller/broker documents. This is what I alluded to earlier, following their process, using their templates, using their frameworks. The seller is going to get their paperwork from their lawyers. So who do you think it's going to favor? It's going to favor them. It's not going to favor you. And same with the broker. The broker, they're just using stock standard templates, right? That serve them, that facilitate the deal, get it done. You want to get your own. You want to get your own documents from your lawyers who aren't your fucking uncle. You want to get your professional transaction lawyers to draft up the documents to make them favorable to you. Letting the seller go. So especially if you're looking at a small business, right? I see so many small business deals, especially from brokers, where the seller wants to get out of the business as soon as possible. And oftentimes the seller is integral to the business. So they're trying to sell a business at a price where it assumes that they're part of the business, right? Let's say you're buying a clinic, like I'm in healthcare, you're buying a clinic and this doctor is 30% of the business. And I see a lot of broker deals where a clinic is for sale and they're selling it, assuming the numbers from the seller are there. But the seller's going to go. So you buy the business at the rate that assumes that they're still there, earning the money, earning 30% of the business, and then they go. And all of a sudden you're 30% down. Right, that is terrible. So especially in small business deals, even if they're not part of the billings, the revenue, but they're part of the management, that's super important to still keep them there in the business. At least, even for 6 months, right? That's better than nothing. Ideally, 12 months to 3 years even, right? This is one of the biggest mistakes I see in small business deals, letting the seller just fucking run away. And then when you start to get towards the close, right, you do the contracts, you do everything, and a lot of brokers don't let you interview or engage staff before buying, and they'll even advise the seller to not let you do this, which is a fucking mistake. This is probably one of the bigger mistakes than what I said before, not interviewing or engaging staff, because what happens when everyone leaves? Right? So they're selling you the business, the seller goes, right, he sold you the business, he's saying goodbye, fuck off, thank you for the money, see you later. Now the staff are going to have no idea about the seller selling, and then all of a sudden you come in as a new owner, and then they're like, oh fuck, like we don't like this guy, we don't like this girl, we don't like the way you do things, we want our old boss back, what the hell? And then they just fuck off, they just leave. And now all of a sudden you're left with an empty shell of a business with a fucking logo and a website. You might as well have just started your own business, because now you're going to have to work. Right, so this is really important, to interview and engage the staff before you buy the business. So once you actually get to the close, you want to say, I want to talk to the staff, I want to make sure they're going to stay, I want to assure them that I'm going to take care of them, right? Like, you can't force people to stay. That's the thing. In many modern first world countries, you can't force people to stay, but you can incentivize them to stay. You can talk to them and fucking establish a relationship, right? Because people are less likely to leave you if they know who the fuck you are. And then ultimately, if you follow everything, if you bought a business the way that I've just shown you, you go through the broker, you pay the deposits, you get fucked by the banks, you don't interview staff, you let the seller go, you follow the broker process, ultimately this is what happens to you. You get fucked in the ass. You paid too much for a shitty little asset, everyone's gone, the legal protections aren't in place for you, that favor you, and ultimately you get fucked in the ass. So if you enjoy this, if you enjoy getting fucked in the ass, then yeah, sure, buy businesses like 99% of people. But if you don't like getting fucked in the ass, maybe even if you do like getting fucked in the ass, but you want to do things the smart way, if you want to do things like the 1%, now I'm going to introduce you to my 3C model. Now, this is essentially, I've condensed the 1%er method into my own methodology and framework, but essentially all the top guys play the game using a framework similar to this, or even following this exact framework, following my genius. So anyway, I break it down into credibility, capital, and closing. These are all the things you need to buy companies. You don't need to go anywhere fucking else. You just listen to this: credibility, capital, closing. And essentially, all my model is buying companies with no money down or even any industry experience. And why? Because we're using OPE and OPM. What is OPE and OPM? OPE is other people's expertise or experience. And OPM, what's other OPM? Let me hear. Other people's money, right? So you don't need your own expertise or experience. You don't need your own money if you know how to use other people's experience, other people's money. And here are essentially the steps within the 3C model. Now, this is just an outline, but take notes. So the first thing is stealing credibility, right? So if you don't have money, you need credibility, right? That's the other side of the picture that people don't talk about. If you don't have credibility, you can't get the money from banks, investors, financiers, and you're gonna have a weak position with the sellers, right? So stealing credibility. What do I mean by stealing credibility? In my model, we build a board of directors or advisors or partners, right? So with myself, I built a board of directors. I built a world-class board of directors. These are people, collectively, we've got over 200 years of experience and over $300 million in deals completed in terms of transactions, right? And my chairman is the former ambassador to the UK. He worked closely with the Queen of England, rest in peace. And he's the former chairman of the world's largest hedge fund, right? So big dog, big dick swingers, right? And now their names are attached to my company. So who's got the credibility? I've got the credibility, right? Number two, after you've built your credibility, you've built your team, you've got your partners, you engage top tier professionals. So again, I say don't use your cousin, your accountant, uncle, auntie, mum, brother, right? You use top tier professionals. Top tier professionals like the big 4 or even big 6, maybe even top 10 in your country, right? Don't use some shitty little fucker down the corner street. Use top tier professionals, accountants, and lawyers to do all your work. And you can get them to do the work on a delayed or rolled fees basis. That means you pay nothing up front, you pay them when you close a deal. And when you present with the credibility, boom, they're going to accept working with you on those terms. Serious banking relationships. So most people walk into a bank and beg for money. 3C model, we build relationships with bankers. So we're not begging for money. We're actually interviewing bankers. We're choosing who we want the money from, where we want to get the money, right? You got to think in abundance. You got to think like you own the world already. Everyone wants to give you money, right? You choose you choose where the fucking money comes from. It's your choice. It's not them. You choose where the money comes from. Right? So you don't beg for money. You go in, you set the tone. This is my team. This is my people. This is my vision. What are your terms like? How do you like to lend? I wonder if this fits us. It's not the other way around where it's, please, I need money. Okay, I'll give you my house. I'll give you my soul. I'll give you everything. That's a pussy way to get money. Now, no money down deal structures. Most people don't know how to structure deals. Most people think that you just need to pay money up front. Okay, the seller wants $1 million, you have to pay $1 million up front. That's bullshit. I've got 4 financing mechanisms: vendor financing, vendor rollover, commercial debt, and investor capital. These 4 financing mechanisms will allow you can use a combination, right? Tai Chi that shit. Use a combination of it, mix it up, 1,000 ways you can do it, to do it no money down. My first deal, I did 100% vendor finance. People say that's impossible. I tell them they're fucking pussy. No money down deal structures, it's easy if you just understand how to fucking vamoose it, right? The key here is 1.5 DSCR, debt service coverage ratio of at least 1.5. Keep it up. Keep it above 1.5 and you're sweet, you're gravy. And now, how do you find the deals? How do you close the deals? A closing process, right? I always find my deals off-market, private deals. I call people directly. I establish the relationships directly with my sellers, so I'm not relying on some broker, some brokey broker who knows nothing about business and who's trying to jack up the price, who's trying to dick me, right? I'm not relying on some middleman. I'm relying on myself, my communication, my relationship with the seller. This is, if you follow all these steps, if you follow my model, you have ultimate leverage and you can close deals, no money down, using other people's experience and expertise and other people's money. That's my model. If you don't believe me, here's some wins. Here's some wins from my guys. My guy closed 2 deals in 23 days and got $500K from the fucking banks. 0 money down, 0 cash moolah down into the deals. He bought 2 fucking companies in 23 days. And I've got my man, Mr. Christian Dawes, here in Australia, fastest waste management deal in Australia. He started with nothing, no money down, using a model similar to mine. And here we are, 2 killers here in Melbourne, Australia. So boom, if you want access to all of my shit in detail, you want me to coach you through all these things, right? So you can stop being a pussy, stop being a retard, following conventional wisdom, all the shit you ChatGPT, you probably think you're so smart, right? ChatGPT, Google, how do I buy businesses? What does this mean? And you're relying on ChatGPT, who doesn't know shit about the real way, the 1% way. ChatGPT, how do you think he gets all this information? Through the masses. You think the masses, if the masses knew what I was talking about, ChatGPT would be fucking telling you, right? If everyone would be doing it, if they knew this model, but only the 1% do. And even the 1%, like even 1 million people watch this, only fucking 100 people will take action. So the question is, are you one of those 100 people out of 1 million, out of 1 billion people who will watch this and say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to listen to someone who's done it, who's doing it. I'm not going to listen to fucking ChatGPT, Google fucking, Cody Sanchez, Tai Lopez. I'm going to fucking join the Owners Academy. Link in the bio, by the way. I'm going to join the Owners Academy. I'm going to learn from someone who's doing it, who's done it, who's got other people in his network doing it, who knows the fucking source. Something that people aren't talking about, people who are too scared to take action. So it doesn't even matter if I'm sharing it, because I know most people won't do it. But if you're one of the bright few, the ambitious few, who aren't scared to take action, then come in the Owners Academy. Link in the bio. I'll see you on the next one, eh?